Yo, what is up everyone? This is Bleach Unbound here, back at it again with another video. This video being part 2 of What If Aizen adopted Ichigo. Pretty much, boys, last time I left this What If was pretty much a few days, maybe not even days, like hours before Ichigo is sent to Soul Society with his friends to basically, save Rukia. Obviously, as we know, Ichigo is now going through with his plan, or at least following Aizen's plan, and now, some interesting plot twists are gonna happen, But without further ado, guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alright, so we resume this What If maybe the day of the rescue operation. Ichigo, Uryu, Orihime, Chad, and Yoruichi are now standing by the Senkaimon portal as they are now ready to go. The thing is, Ichigo had this weird cloak on him, and everyone was like, what's this cloak? As Ichigo said, well, this cloak pretty much suppresses all my Ryatsu, and it was made by Urahara himself, as he was pointing towards the man with the bucket hat and the sandals. As Urahara would say, yes, I was the one who originally made this invention, and is really good for stealth operations, so Ichigo wanted a cloak like that, so I simply gave it to him. As then everyone would get ready, as Urahara would tell them they have a limited time to get inside the Senkaimon, get to the other side before the cleaner would, come in. Obviously, they would all go inside the Senkaimon, and the whole them going technically back in time, like 2 weeks or some shit like that, that would happen. It was really weird. Okay, let's just say that. And pretty much they would land out on the other side of the Senkaimon. It's something weird that Yoruichi had caught on to Ichigo. Ichigo had used Sonido, and that's something only hollows, or at least beings who had mastered hollow abilities, could use. And it was kind of suspicious. So Yoruichi had seen this. It didn't look like flashed up. She didn't know too much about hollow abilities, but she know basic things of how hollows use high-speed techniques. So now she was going to keep an eye on Ichigo just in case something were to happen. Since Ichigo literally just came out of nowhere just like a few months ago, and then now everyone's like trusting him and shit. It just didn't make sense. But once they landed out the other side of the Senkaimon portal, they would head over to the gate, the west gate. Once they would get there, Jibanda would still jump down there and pretty much challenge the strongest one of them to fight him. Well, this would be Ichigo, as he would walk forward, as he would summon his blade. He would just like reach onto his back and then pretty much take it out of its bandages, as he would get ready to fight Jibanda. Now, pretty much once the fight would start, Ichigo would swipe on his mask, as he would then appear in front of Jibanda before swiping down his blade. A red beam encompassing his blade, as he would swing down as the Getsugo would go for Jibanda. Jibanda would try to use his axe to basically defend himself, but that would lead to his axe being split in half, which then lead to Jibanda crying over it. Ichigo would kind of feel a little bit bad, even though he was like fighting an enemy. So he would tell Orihime to then heal the blade, or at least not heal it, but reject the events that were to happen, and for him to get his blade have his blade split in half or shattered. Obviously, as you know, Orihime's abilities do work, but if someone's Ryatsu is stronger than hers, it won't work, which is why she couldn't heal Ichigo after he got his hole through his chest from Ukiura, because she's not stronger than Ukiura when it comes to Ryatsu. Same thing with Yuha, and how she couldn't restore his blades after getting his Bankai shattered. So that too. But this time, Ichigo's Ryatsu wasn't stopping the blade from being, regenerated. So Orihime regenerates the blades into their normal size, as Jibando offers to open the gate for them for their kindness. As once he would open the gates, we would then see Gin Ichimaru on the other side. Now Ichigo knows who Gin Ichimaru is. He had seen him many times when he was living in Las Noches, and it was an interesting sight to see. Now, there's going to be some major changes I'm going to be implicating here. So, I'm going to have it so Aizen doesn't reveal himself as, like, the traitor. And, I'm going to try to extend the story and make it good in a sense. So, pretty much what I'll be... I'm not even going to say it right now. I kind of want to keep the suspense here. So, Gin would then be there, as Gin would then, activate Shikai, spear him, Shinso, as it would go for Ichigo. Ichigo would calmly look at Gin as he would then make a shield, obviously being Bakudo number 81, Danku. The transparent shield would appear in front, being in between them, kind of stopping his blade, as him and his friends would then pretty much run into the Serete. Once they would get in there, they would kind of like run around Shibando. So like, in order for Gin to like retract his blade and then hit them again, he would have to stab right through Shibando and hope that they would, the Ryoka would get hit in the process. But Ichigo, Uryu, Chad, Yoruichi, and Orihime would then basically run into the Serete walls, with the 9th Division being there to await them. So they would then be inside, as obviously Ichigo would be facing off against Shuhei. Shuhei being on the other side, he'd have to fight him. Shuhei would immediately go into Shikai, saying Reap Kazashini, as he would get his two scythe. He would then throw it towards Ichigo as he would try to take off his head. Ichigo would just bend backwards as he would then grab the chain, yanking it forward as Shuhei would be sent flying towards him. Ichigo would then grab him by the face and slam him into the ground, as then he would then aim his hand towards the group of Shinigami running towards him, as he would then use Hado number 32, Sokatsui. I think it's 33. And yeah, it is 33. He would then use Hado number 33, Sokatsui, as a huge blue fire would then form in his hands as it would be shot towards the Shinigami, encompassing them, knocking them out. Ichigo and his friends would then proceed to head towards the middle of the Serete, as now the attack was truly happening. Ichigo would then head towards the... trying to find where Rukia is being held. And obviously they need to find out where. But he had a general idea, and obviously he was tipped off by Aizen where she was being held. So they would run towards the 13 court guard offices, as they would then see the huge white tower. They would then start to head over there, as then we switch perspectives. We then see a man with black spiky hair with bells on each side of the spike, I guess, or braid. I don't really know how to say it, but this would be none other than Kenpachi. He was now running over to the area where the Shinigami were pretty much invading, and he wanted to fight that intruder, like the strongest one of them, this being Ichigo. And this is exactly what happened. Suddenly, Ichigo and his group of friends were running, as they all agreed to split up. Ichigo going with Uryu, Orihime going with Chad, and Yoruichi just going with them, like Ichigo and Uryu. Obviously, they wouldn't have Ganji, which would kind of be a little bit kind of downgrade, but it is what it is. Suddenly, Ichigo, Uryu, and Yoruichi felt like presence behind them, as they would start to hear bells being jingled. That sounded sus. But they would hear the sound of bells ringing into the distance, as Kenpachi would then say, "So you hear the bells? That must mean all of you are strong. That's good. I don't mind any 1v3s. It's really fun." As Uryu would then aim his Quincy arrow at Kenpachi as he would shoot it towards him, but Kenpachi would just catch the arrow as it would dissipate into Reishi, saying, "Oh, I heard about you. You're Quincy's, if I'm not wrong." As Uryu would then announce his name being Uriya Ishida, and then Ichigo would do the same with Yoruichi, just saying Yoruichi. As Kenpachi would look towards Yoruichi as she would then say, "Why don't you transform? I don't really like to fight someone when they're not at full power. Obviously, he knows who Yoruichi is, just not actually because Kenpachi became captain after the turn back the pendulum arc, so he didn't actually know her, but just heard of her. Obviously, Yoruichi would then say, I don't really need to. Ichigo and Uryu can deal with you. Obviously, being somewhat right, Ichigo and Uryu could deal with Kenpachi, since Kenpachi is like suppressed and all and doesn't, holds back his power and all. So Ichigo would then, sense the power as he then put his blade towards, Kenpachi as the bandages would start to wrap around him. Suddenly, he would then scream out, Bankai, as he would then, so once the smoke would be revealed, there would be a mask on his face as his eyes had his pupils had dilated to that of gold, and while the rest of his eye was just black. As his sword had turned into completely bleached out, and his outfit was also the same. As he would then, Sonido behind Kenpachi, as Kenpachi was surprised. How did he just appear in front of him? Or technically behind him. As Ichigo then swung down his blade, as, Kenpachi would be sent flying into Uryu. Uryu would then have his bow ready, as he would then start shooting maybe 50 arrows towards Kenpachi, as arrows would then pierce everywhere, his arms, his shoulders, his chest. Obviously, Kenpachi didn't really have enough time to reinforce his body with Ryatsu, as he was being slashed and all, as now Ichigo and Uryu would start tag teaming Kenpachi. And Kenpachi would be forced to rip off his eye patch as he would become exponentially stronger. And Ichigo and Uryu would confused how Kenpachi was this durable. So Kenpachi gains this white aura as he would then swing his blade down, causing a kind of yellow beam of light to escape from his blade, going for Ichigo and Uryu. Ichigo would then raise his blade as a red aura would, kind of encompass his sword, as he would then swing up, as he would then scream, Getsuga Tensho. Ichigo would then use this Getsuga as it would go towards Kenpachi's direction, as suddenly it would then clash with his, attack, as it would then cause an explosion. Now we switch perspectives to Genryusai Shigeguki Yamamoto. He was watching in the distance as the Sarate was being invaded by a group of kids at this point. Obviously, they were fairly young, so when Yamamoto looks at them, he sees them as just babies, because pretty much Yamamoto killed 1 trillion Shinigami, Hollows, whatever. He killed a lot of people, and obviously he lived for like over 1,000 years. As he would then see the attack that Ichigo used, he sensed the Ryatsu behind it. It felt similar to that of Yuha's, or at least Yowachi's, or at least just felt a little bit of it. As he would then see the boy Uryu, obviously he would know why he felt more like Yowachi, because he's a Quincy, but he would look at Ichigo. Ichigo had a portion of this Ryatsu inside of him, but he would have other Ryatsu, like he would see his soul ribbon. Soul ribbon was split in 3. It was Hollow, Shinigami, and then Quincy. Obviously, as you can see, soul ribbons distinguish who you are. So in the first part of the show, obviously Tsukuba had it where Uryu saw it was just Shinigami, but later on that was just like bullshit. But Yamamoto would see that the attack he used was pretty much capable of rivaling all the captains put together, as he was truly not fearful, but he was surprised and fearful at what Ichigo could do. Obviously, he's not scared of Ichigo. He's just scared of Ichigo, what he's gonna do, in a sense. Not to him, but to the other captains. He just feels bad for Kenpachi specifically. We now switch perspectives back to Ichigo, who is now fighting Kenpachi, as they were having pretty fun. They were having a good time, as Ichigo was kind of getting bored. He told Kenpachi, let's put all of our power into one attack, and we can end this here. Ichigo would then charge up a Sero from his, he would then put up his finger, obviously still having his mask. He would form a blue Sero, this being a Grand Ray Sero. Ichigo would then pretty much have it on his hand, as then he would then pretty much swing his blade down, as the Sero would kind of encompass his blade, as then he would then swing down. A Getsuga Grand Ray Sero would leave his blade, as suddenly Kenpachi would swing down, as both of them had a huge aura encompassing their body, as they would then clash. Now after the clash, there would be an explosion as that area was just completely atomized. As once Kenpachi and Ichigo were to be revealed, Ichigo would have a hole through his chest. As similar to Kenpachi, he would have pockets of holes through his body. As Ichigo would then suddenly close his eyes, as a substance would cover his body as it would regenerate his body, the hole in his chest. He would then walk over to Kenpachi, seeing the amount of power that was suppressed, and he had seen that Kenpachi was slowly not holding back. So he walked up to Kenpachi and pretty much asked Uryu for that drug he had. Uryu kind of passed him a drug. This was similar to that of like Blood Vein and kind of like Ichigo's high-speed regeneration mixed together. Obviously, if you're wondering, wait, doesn't Quincy and Hollow don't go together? It's usually for Quincy, hollow cells in general are poisonous to Quincy's, but not the actual property itself. So pretty much Ichigo and Uryu made a drug, or at least mostly Ichigo, where he pretty much made a healing drug. So he pretty much gave it to Kenpachi as his holes would start to close, as obviously for a few seconds Blood Vein would be shown on his skin, but it would dissipate as soon as the wounds were healed. But after Ichigo were to fight Kenpachi, him and Yoruichi and Uryu would run towards the kind of Yoruichi's cave, as Yoruichi would see that they're tired, they need to rest. But once they're running, Ichigo having his Shikai on his back, wrapped up and all, they would then run into another captain. This captain would have the Hayori with the number 2 on it. And Ichigo and Yoruichi specifically, would kind of realize this was Soifon, as Yoruichi would immediately just dip, as telling them that, to meet her at the cave, basically telling her where it is. Telling them where it is, sorry. But Ichigo and Uryu would be forced to fight Soifon. Now, what Ichigo would do is he would tell Uryu that you can handle this. I feel like you've grown strong enough. And what Ichigo wants Uryu to do is he wants Uryu to use his samurai glove, like release it, and he wants Uryu to evolve past his samurai glove and use his Volstigen, which he has knowledge of from Old Man Zangetsu. So Uryu would then be told by Ichigo to use his samurai glove and not to worry about losing his powers, just go all out. Uryu would then summon his samurai glove, as he would then say that he has charged up energy reishi into this glove for 7 days and 7 nights, and now he was prepared to use it against Soifon. Soifon, having some knowledge of Quincy techniques, would know what this samurai glove was, as she would then go into her Shikai, as suddenly Uryu would then be surrounded by reishi, as there'd be an explosion. Once the explosion would be, once the explosion would dissipate, Uryu would then be seen with a blue aura surrounding him. And obviously, from distance, we see Yuha. Yuha is watching upon Uryu as he's using more power of his Quincy, as he was curious. He was curious what Ichigo was doing. Why would he want, Uryu to use his samurai glove? Obviously, as the Quincy's are hiding in the shadows, so they see everything. So, Yuha, for a second, he gave the power of the antithesis to Uryu, but it was something he was only going to let him do before he died. So if Uryu were to sustain a lot of injuries, then he would activate the antithesis via Uryu, to then switch the injuries over to Soifon. So Uryu would start shooting arrows, and they would be amplified by Yuha, as he didn't really like Shinigami much, so he just kind of helped him out. It was kind of a co-aligning goal. So Uryu was doing pretty well, but obviously Soifon would start spawning in mass clones, just not clones, but after images of herself, and Uryu was having a little trouble who's who. Soifon would suddenly, go for Uryu, as there'd be marks all over him, and she just needs to hit the second, spot again to then use her Shikai's ability, Nikitse Katetsu. I can't even pronounce it. But once she would do this, suddenly there'd be a light, as Uryu was then seen to be slowly dying, but Uryu would then catch her wrist. He would then say, this ability, Nikitse Katetsu, it's an interesting ability. 2 strikes in the same place and you could kill me, right? But there's a difference between me and you. I have more Ryatsu. Obviously, if you're wondering, you'd be like, what did he say? He has more Ryatsu than Soifon? How does that even make sense? Think about this. If Yuha had unlocked all of his potential for him to get the antithesis for a second, or even a limited time, he should be above a low-level captain like Soifon. Not saying she's weak, but she's not the strongest captain, so of course Uryu would be above her in Ryatsu. Soifon then realized her flaw was that she had less Ryatsu than her, or at least in that moment Uryu had more Ryatsu. So that means she would be injured herself, or at least her hand was like bruised. After this, Uryu would then use the antithesis, as suddenly Soifon would fall over with cuts and bruises being transferred over to her via the antithesis, as Ichigo and Uryu would run off, as Soifon would then be defeated. From distance, there would be an emergency captain's meeting, as all the captains would gather, or at least captains that weren't busy would gather, as it'd be like Unohana, Byakuya, Aizen, Yamamoto, Kyoraku, Ukitake, Mayuri, Kaname, Gin. I think that's everyone. But Toshiro, I think that's everyone. So they would all, have the captain's meeting, as Yamamoto would announce be told by like Unohana that Kenpachi was almost dead, and Soifon was just reported to be taken down, as Yamamoto was a little concerned. Ichigo and this Quincy had been 2 captains so far, and he was worried on the sustainability of the Soul Society, or the Serete. So he then pretty much made an order saying every Shinigami can now, it's like wartime, every Shinigami can use their Bankai, or at least captains can use their Bankai, and all lieutenants could go all out. As Ukitake and Shunsui would be talking to each other, telling each other how suspicious this timing was and how Rukia was getting the execution. They would then make a plotting so they can use the Hoenn shield to then save Rukia and all, from the Sokyoku, and then how they're going to save Rukia. So basically, they would start their own types of rebelling, since they didn't really see the point of following Central 46 on this one. It was too unreasonable. So after that would happen, Ichigo and Uryu would then be seen in the hot springs, or at least the hot springs, but the Urahara's hot tub, which then healed their wounds. So they were in there, they were pretty much healing from their wounds, as they were pretty much relaxing and shit from their fights, as suddenly they realized they have like a week left until the execution, and they need to prepare. Uryu had just used his samurai gloves, and now he had to awaken more of his power, while Ichigo had to get his real power, some actual real power, not just his Quincy powers and some of his solid powers. He needed it all. So we'll do like a what I'll be doing over this week. Ichigo would then ask Zangetsu to give him his actual Zanpakuto, which Zangetsu would then reply, or at least the white version, saying he needed to get in the Tsuchi to be more specific. As what would happen is he would ask Yoruichi to get him in a Tsuchi. She would then comply, as she would then sneak into the 2nd division, not the 2nd division, but like kind of like one of the places where Oetsu sent down a Tsuchi for all the Shinigami, this being near the 2nd division, but it was protected by 2nd division members. So she would head over there and steal 2 Tsuchi, as Ichigo had a theory telling her that he thinks he's a dual wield. Obviously, Yoruichi was kind of surprised, but at the same time, not really. Ichigo had really defeated Kenpachi and could defeat Soifon and possibly all the captains together, and him being a dual wield was not too much of a far-fetch. So she got him to Asuchi, as once he would, be receiving the 2 Asuchi, he would then suddenly, go into Jinzen, as then, suddenly the blades would transform into his 2 dual-wield blades, being the one we see in the current manga, or at least the one we see in chapter 542, or in the new one-shot. So Ichigo would stand up, as he would then say the same sentence that he says in canon, being Zangetsu is me, as something like that, and it's quite a nostalgic panel. But after Ichigo would be standing there with his 2 blades, him and Uri were ready. They would get on the drip. Ichigo kind of having the same outfit he did when he came back from the Soul Palace. I know it was Senjumaru that made that, but that outfit's just too drippy. Let me have it. Let Ichigo have that one, okay? Obviously, Uryu, if you're wondering what drip is Uryu, guy, he has to have some drip too. He would be having his usual Quincy outfit, being the Quincy outfit from his 1,000-Year Blood arc, with the desert cloak on from the Shihoan, kind of the same one that Ichigo had in canon. So Ichigo and Uryu were walking out of the cave as it was the day of the execution, and him and Uryu were ready to end things once and for all. Now, this will be the end of this What If. What if Aizen adopted Ichigo? Next part is really going to be a twist. I know I kind of left it off there, but trust me, you're going to want to see the next part. But without further ado, guys, have a good day.